I guess we're just talking about different movies and shit today, but it's Starship Troopers.
Oh yeah.
So I just rewatched it for the first time like a couple months ago. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid. Now I come from a lot of the men that I know in my family. You know, they've participated in the military and whatnot, and none of them said that they want us to go into the military and shit, and none of us did. You know, like people have like federal jobs, or they have like public jobs, or they work in the private sector, but like almost no other of my family members that I know of drafted in the military because they're still very anti-war. You know, it was just that, you know, their way out. But Starship Troopers, for those who haven't seen it or if it's been a while, it was a book, and then it got adapted to a film, a super campy film that is still hella popular. But basically the premise of it is, it's selling a very modernized and socially liberal type of fascism. Basically, it's fascism if it was socially inclusive.
Yeah.
If it wasn't, it's fascism if it was all about including all humankind under the effort to destroy an entire species of bugs. And if you're somebody who's aware of war propaganda, or just propaganda in general, you'll know that, you know, the terminology of referring to the entire group as bugs, and that using phrases like, oh, they have to be annihilated or they have to be destroyed, is something that's commonly used with groups who commit genocides and shit, you know, just throughout human history.
You have to antagonize.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you have to demonize them
that's the word.
Dehumanize them,
That's
yeah.
correct.
And so, Starship Troopers is basically about that. Now, there's a lot of controversy about it because the writer, he seems to have gone more reactionary, more right-wing in his career as he went along. So a lot of people see when he wrote it as it being adoration, showing adoration for fascism. And then when the film was made in the late 90s, people were saying that like, oh, this is endorsing, how could they make this? You know, because this is endorsing fascism and shit like that. And it's the thing I've come to realize is that like with satire, it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, if you are somebody who is like anti-war or who's always skeptical of the government, or, you know, wary of propaganda, or you try to empathize with the other, you know, side, you know, because oftentimes in war and shit conflicts, you'll just hear that, oh, this thing happened to us, this thing, okay, but why did they do that? You know, and then a lot of people who are just bloodthirsty, they'll just focus on the other side as being the antagonist, and or framing them as the antagonist, and not owning up to the ways in which maybe they stirred shit up for the other group.
Yeah.
And for them to possibly maybe act in self-defense and not being the antagonizers. So for somebody like me who's aware of those things, I can laugh at it because it seems so over the top, so hyperbolic. Yeah. But at the same time, there are people whom, if that is a...
it's their propaganda.
Yeah, it's their propaganda. The thing is, if you are somebody who stands for this shit, then you're going to look at that and you're going to be emboldened by it. You're going to, you know...
Yeah, that's the thing about satire. Like, I love satire, but it's a gamble. It's like you're either gonna make people laugh about things that they're already aware of, or you're gonna inspire this like negativity that you didn't mean to inspire, but it was like, you know, it's not your fault that these people don't know that because that's all they've known is this negativity, you know. And so to them, it's like, oh, the person's a genius. Oh, oh, it's like, oh, I don't wanna. Never mind now. But it's kind of like their version of, people are gonna hate me out there, the version of their Bible, I guess. Not their Bible, but like basically saying like
their sacred texts.
Yes, their sacred texts are just like, if it's in the movie, that means it's gonna, they're only gonna pick out the things that have to do with their rhetoric, you know?
That reinforce what they believe.
Exactly, yeah. So
confirm
what they come,
exactly. It's kind of like, remember our friend Ezekiel? Like he's a comedian and he does these jokes that are like very they're racy, they're like controversial and stuff, but you know, some of us get it because it's like it's very satirical. And but he always gets like a silence from the room because it's like it's very taboo. You know, a lot of people don't really make fun of certain things that he does, and it's like, but we get it because he's bringing it up. Yeah, because that's his art and his way of bringing it up. You know, so that's his way of being satirical. Exactly.
It's still getting talked about.
Exactly.
Even if it brings.
Go ahead.
Even if it brings like a negative like a negative vibe from the crowd, I guess, but he's still talking about something. And it's always something important, you know, it's nothing like crazy or whatever. But it's just, that's his way of talking about topics. And a lot of them get shit from the crowd, but I'm like, that's what it is, you know what I mean? Like Samson's done comedy, so he knows what it's all about.
It's like
And
Dave
it's like-
Chappelle too. His
Yeah.
new special. I don't know if you guys seen Dave Chappelle's new special.
No.
Yeah, he talks a lot about like, and it's not. Oh no, go ahead first. Like, I mean, well, yeah, he talks about a lot about like serious shit, but he makes fun of it. But he's just like, just because I'm making fun of it doesn't mean I'm against it. You know, like he was talking shit about like gay people. He's like, I have gay friends. Like my friends, like they love my jokes, and you know, like, and it's true. It's like you don't know the person just because they say they're bringing up
It's
social
literal.
issues.
Like they
Exactly,
put them
yeah.
in literally in that box.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
if they talk about maybe like, I don't know.
I think when you have a platform, right,
Mhm.
especially when you're like, you have a mic, or you have like, or you write, you're a director, you know, or you do stuff like that. You were talking about like propaganda in like movies and stuff like that. And it's like, it's such an art form. I think people forget to be the devil's advocate and show like the other side of the river, like, or of the street, you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, of course you're gonna get like mainstream or like the people, you know, on a certain vibration, understanding it on a very superficial level, sure. But I think the art form is that there are like messages almost always, and like so many things to be learned from these pieces of work, you know? So it's like, yeah, it's the same through all platforms, but
There's a reason why they wrote about
Yeah.
something and
Yeah,
something
and-
and topic.
and again, it's art, you know. It's like you don't have to get it. Like you don't have to. Like that's this guy's head. Like and he just started writing stuff, or he just started saying stuff.
Yeah.
Like like you don't have to understand it. Like you don't have to agree with it. But it is what it is.
That's his art.
Yeah, and now again, like we were talking about, we look back and we can see how a lot of these people, their writings, their movies, their whatever, like it actually resonates. You know, maybe they were tripping one day and they, you know, heard something or saw something we didn't, and it's like, okay, well now we can see it, so now we can understand it. And I don't doubt that there was people back then that were like, whoa, shit, that was really like amazing, you know, but it's not always recognized. Nikola Tesla, like he wasn't recognized for shit. They thought he was a crazy person. He died by himself, I think. So it's like, you know, it's not
that
sometimes until
backlash.
later,
Yeah.
that the masses kind of like
That's what
fall
I say.
into the vibration.
Yeah, that's why I say like some people like you should do your you should do like artists, like you should do your art for art's sake. You know, don't do it because I mean if you want to make a lot of money and that's your goal, you know that's your goal. But if you're doing it because you want to do art, like don't bitch about not making a lot of money because come on, honestly, like art, unless you go into like you got connections and shit and you go into the industry, yeah, you'll make money. But if you want to do it to like express yourself and like inspire other people who are probably going through the same shit as you, like, you know, do it. You know, don't care about what other people think. You know.
Oh, yeah.
That's all good. So like earlier when you were mentioning Starship Troopers, I think one of the important things they left out in the movie adaptation was, I think, changing the nationality of Johnny Rico's character kind of lost an important point that the author was making.
Wait, what was he in the book?
So the Johnny Rico's character in the movie he's Argentinian. In the
Right.
book, he's Filipino.
Really?
So, and there's an important relationship between Filipinos and the Navy, because in the book, Johnny Rico's character is like a military Navy, and there's a power relationship between white men and Filipino men in the Navy, and that's kind of, that book was written around the time of the Cold War. This book, the book Starship Troopers kind of hits home with me a little bit, because my dad's oldest brother, Jose, he's basically Johnny Rico to me. He is that character. And then just the name, because Johnny Rico's name in the book is Juan. So Juan, Johnny, Rico. So my uncle's name is Jose, but they call him Joey. It's like, oh, it's Joey again. And then, the whole thing with the indoctrination on the ship, like most of Filipino men in the Navy were like waiters or cooks on board the ship, and they would, serve the food to the high-ranking white male officers. and that was like the relationship that they had with them. And in addition to that, the other, I think part of like the combat indoctrination to make yourself more aggressive. You know, I know they had Johnny Rico like participate in like some punishment activities where he had to, like, they would have you get used to hurting your fellow soldiers for insubordination. I think one of the things they had my uncle do was they gave him like a baton and the helmet and had him go on drunk patrol and beat up the sailors that had too much to drink. So it's stuff like that, you know, that
The psyche.
yeah, with the psyche, because that's kind of what they lost when they switched out the nationality, the ethnicity of Johnny Rico's character, because the Juan, that Filipino character of Johnny Rico is like, and the relationship between white men and Filipino men in the military is a big chunk of that story and the message.
They
So-
don't want to cause more drama because they know what's going on there. You know, they're like, let's not stir the pot anymore, you know? That's crazy.
And it's right in the middle of the Cold War.
Such like substance.
Well, yeah, but, you know, back then was different, you know? They didn't really give a shit about, like, you know,
And then you go into a lot of different topics. I haven't seen, what's the
Starship.
Starship Troopers? I haven't seen that. I just screenshotted it.
The book is way different.
Yeah,
Yeah, I bet.
That's interesting.
But right now, just hearing you talk about like how they changed like a whole nationality, like that's insane. Because then it gets me thinking about like colorism and like Argentinian sounds more like Argentinian.
Casper
Like, it sounds-
Van, the character who played Johnny Rico, Casper Van Diem, he's not even Argentinian, he's a white man.
There you go. So it's like
Dutch background.
yeah, and it's like.
And the thing is with Argentinians, they're a group of Latino or Latin folks who they're very predominantly white. Like you feel like you're in a European country,
Yeah.
or you know.
Yeah, that's exactly what came to my mind. So when I was listening to you talk about that, I was like, oh, that fucking sucks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's such like a substantial part of this book, and it had such an opportunity to like really make people think, you know, about the color of our skin in such a different way, especially back then. What year was this
That
movie?
movie came out in the 90s.
Late 90s,
And the
yeah.
book was in the 70s?
And to touch home even
I
more,
think so, yeah.
it was filmed over at Kaiser Permanente Hospital in Baldwin Park, just round the corner from us.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I'm for sure not gonna
Yeah,
miss it now.
like it was a high school scene. So like like movies like Deer Hunter, and it also it teaches you about growing up too. It was a big part of it because there's a scene where they're all graduating high school and they're all going to prom, and they shot that right outside of Kaiser Permanente Baldwin Park, and everybody's like oh, we're so happy. It's like the loss of innocence is kind of what that scene is. We're so happy. We don't know what we're getting into. We don't know who's gonna get killed. We're just having a good time at prom.
They
And
were
they're showing-
enlisted to go to war.
yeah, they're listed to get citizenship was
It's citizenship, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh
so
yeah, that was the
it
part
touches-
that we missed. Yeah,
it touches on that.
Yeah,
You can only become a
that's part of the
Oh, wow.
that's part of the one of the defining things about the fascism, you know, thing is that it's that not necessarily that policy specifically, but the whole idea that you are elevated if you participate in in supporting the state, you know, patriotism and shit, and participating in militarism.